The Caltherian delegation filled the negotiation chamber with their imposing presence. General Vexthor stood 7 feet tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming obsidian black under the station's artificial lights. 4 arms crossed over his armored chest as he surveyed the human representatives with barely concealed contempt. Elsa Martinez sat across the crystalline table, her burned hands folded carefully in front of her. The scars ran from her fingertips to her wrists, twisted, mottled skin that told a story she rarely shared. Beside her, Jixon Cole shuffled through diplomatic documents, his jaw tight as he felt the weight of Vexthor's gaze. These are Earth's champions? Vexthor's mandibles clicked in what the translation software rendered as derisive laughter. A scarred female and a paper pusher? The Calthar Dominion conquers star systems. We expected more. The other Caltherian warriors chittered their agreement, their compound eyes glittering with amusement, but one figure remained silent. In the corner, partially obscured by the larger warriors, sat a smaller Caltherian. Zixnal was barely 4 feet tall, his carapace still soft and mottled with youth, what humans had learned to call an apex pup, a juvenile of the warrior caste. Elsa didn't flinch. She'd faced worse than insults. General, we're here to discuss the mining rights on Kepler 442b, not compare battle scars. Battle scars? Vexthor leaned forward, his secondary arms gesturing mockingly at Elsa's hands. Those look like kitchen accidents. Did you burn yourself making sustenance for your males? The Caltherian delegation erupted in their clicking laughter. Jixon's hand moved to his sidearm, but Elsa's scarred hand caught his wrist. She shook her head slightly. Her dark eyes never left Vexthor's face. Actually, she said calmly, I got these pulling my crew out of a burning reactor core on the colony ship Prometheus. 17 people. I made 4 trips through plasma fires hot enough to melt duralloy. The pain was, she paused, remembering, educational. The laughter died. Vexthor's mandibles stopped clicking. Your species' weakness is that you damage so easily, he said, recovering his composure. Calthar's skin is armored. We are born for war. You humans are soft, fragile. These scars prove it. These scars prove I didn't stop, Elsa replied. Her voice remained level, professional. I went back. 4 times. Because that's what we do. From the corner, a small voice spoke. Were you forged in battle too? All eyes turned to Zixnal. The young Caltherian stepped forward, his movements hesitant, his soft carapace reflecting his inexperience. General Vexthor's head swiveled sharply, mandibles snapping in warning. But the pup continued. The forging, Zixnal explained, looking at Elsa's hands with what the translation software struggled to interpret. Was it reverence? When a warrior's first carapace is broken in combat and regrows stronger. The mark of true Calthar warriors. Your hands! They look like they broke and grew back wrong, but you still use them. Elsa glanced at her hands, understanding dawning. I suppose that's one way to look at it. The skin grafts didn't take properly, but yes, I still use them. Every day, silence, pup, Vexthor barked. These soft creatures know nothing of the forging. They break and stay broken, do they? Zixnal moved closer to the table, his youth making him bold in his curiosity. Ambassador Martinez, does it still hurt? Every day, Elsa admitted, especially in cold environments. The nerve damage means I'll never have full sensation back. Sometimes they crack and bleed when I grip something too hard. And yet you are here, Zixnal observed, negotiating for your species, using those hands to hold writing implements, to gesture, to work. He turned to Vexthor. General, is this not like Commander Haxril? She lost 3 limbs in the Battle of Yorth Nebula, had them regrown. They cause her pain still, but she fights on. We gave her the title of Scar Honored. The chamber fell silent. Vexthor's compound eyes fixed on his young subordinate, then slowly moved back to Elsa's hands. The general's mandibles worked silently, processing. Jixon seized the moment. General, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. You see our physical vulnerability as weakness, but human history is built on what we call pushing through. We break, we burn, we bleed. And then we adapt. We heal wrong, but we heal forward. He pulled up a holographic display. The colony ship Prometheus. It was attacked by Zerathian raiders. The reactor was sabotaged. Ambassador Martinez wasn't even security personnel. She was a botanist. She grew food in the hydroponics bay. But when the core started melting down and the engineering crew was trapped, she was the only one small enough to fit through the damaged access corridor. Images flickered across the display. A young Elsa before the scars, smiling among flowering tomato plants. Then security footage, grainy, heat-distorted, showing a figure crawling through a tunnel of fire, dragging bodies. 4 trips, Jixen continued. The first trip she got 5 people. Her gloves melted to her hands. The second trip, 3 more. The skin was already blistering. The third trip she pulled out the chief engineer, who outweighed her by 40 kilos. By the 4th trip she was pulling herself forward with her elbows because her hands were— his voice caught slightly. Because her hands were ruined. Elsa spoke quietly. I got everyone. Then I sealed the corridor and vented the plasma into space. Passed out from shock. Woke up 3 days later in medical. And your reward? Vexthor asked, his tone changed. What honors did your species grant you? A commendation. Medical leave. And eventually this job. Elsa smiled slightly. They figured if I was stubborn enough to crawl through plasma fire, I could handle negotiating with the Calthar Dominion. Sixinol's carapace rippled, an expression of deep respect. She bears the mark of the forging. General, the humans may be soft, but they are not weak. General Vexthor was quiet for a long moment, then his forearms uncrossed. He reached across the table with his primary hand, palm up, a Caltharian gesture of acknowledgement between warriors. Scar-honored Martinez, he said, using the Calthar title with deliberate precision. Perhaps Earth has warriors after all. They simply wear their armor differently. Elsa placed her scarred hand in his. The twisted skin against his obsidian carapace, 2 species, 2 kinds of strength. General, she said, shall we discuss those mining rights? I promised to be as stubborn in negotiation as I was in that corridor. Vexthor's mandibles clicked, but this time, the translation software identified it as laughter of a different kind. Respect. I expect nothing less, the general replied. And Pup Zixinol, you have earned the right to observe these negotiations. One day you may lead them. As the negotiations began in earnest, Jixen leaned toward Elsa and whispered, Did you plan that? No, Elsa whispered back, flexing her scarred fingers. But pain has its purpose. Sometimes it teaches. Sometimes it translates. Today it built a bridge. Outside the viewport, stars wheeled in the endless dark. And in that chamber, 2 species began to understand that strength comes in many forms. Some forged in battle, some in sacrifice, all marked by the willingness to endure. ND